Acting up, plotting on the plan to bring peace to the East. Got us heading right straight for the World War III, fighting for the wrong reason. Yo, this is season for these paganized demons. Words that I speak be so chill, no debating. There's a bell standing on the corner, trick-or-treating. Yeah, I do my thing for Jerusalem. Still praising Yah, bring the word to my Israelite. People stay strong, do my thing for Jerusalem. Still praising Yah, bring the word to my Israelite. People stay strong, then we slide good, ride good, like wood. Slide good, ride good, like wood. Slide good, ride good, like wood. Slide good, ride good, like wood.
Politicians and preachers leading us astray, telling lies to the people, not showing them the way. Just like the other day, I'm checking them out. False preacher on the TV got too much clout. He said he teaches all about prosperity, but he meant not for y'all prosperity, for me. Why we spend money for that?
Our lesson today going to be Yahshua the prophesied Messiah. This lesson actually been long overdue, that I had been meaning to put up for a long time, and I hadn't had a chance to put up, and now it's the best opportunity to bring it, since we're able to come together again. Brother Keith Chappelle. So we're gonna go ahead and break down the importance of understanding who the Messiah is, because who the Messiah is one of the biggest, contentious issues that is among the house of Israel today, you know. And one thing about it, even before we get into these scriptures, I do want to say too that, you know, time is winding down, and irregardless of all of these contentions that we do have, and even more new contentions that just seem to arise, you know, some people may read, some be like, man, you know what? I think that the Sabbath day occurs 7 days after the new moon. So now I'm gonna teach this lunar Sabbath doctrine. And then it gets so caught up, you know, other people be leaving that doctrine. But my thing is, it is what it is. But the only point that I'm making, I'm not making a point of the doctrine being wicked. The point I'm making is that just the divisions that we have based off of this man's philosophy, this man's understanding, it has been really detrimental to the house of Israel. And time now is winding down that we need to stop treating each other bad based off of my understanding ain't what your understanding is, and vice versa. You know, we need to really be able to really go back to the basics, basically, you know, because there was a time previously when most of us, because even though there's a lot of us that had been born into the knowledge of Yah, you know, I'm talking about mostly babies, whatever, because I know I wasn't, you know, and most adults that I know wasn't, you know. So why do we come into this truth and now we be as wicked toward one another as we were when we wasn't in this truth, you know?
Yeah, most of the people who do that, they really don't have the Spirit of the Most High. When it really boils down to it, if you got to argue over your doctrine, you know, your teaching, you really don't have the Spirit of the Most High.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Because like you say, because the Father's not the author of confusion. He's not the author of contentions. He's not the author of strife. He's not the author of anything. You know, whatever little bit that I might know, believe me when I tell you, I'm striving for that perfection. I'm trying to aim for that mark. You know, Yah forbid I may, you know, come up short. But see, the thing is that when I recognize I come up short, I don't walk in a self-righteous mode.
Maintain a humble heart.
Right, you got to maintain a humble heart. You got to recognize that you have flaws, and then if you have flaws, then what you think about those other people out there that just may have some flaws too? So am I going to judge them based off of their flaws, or I'm going to deal with them according to what the Spirit of the Father gives to me in terms of being an example, so that I judge not lest ye be judged, and operate according. So I just wanted to throw that little bit out there, because the understanding the Father have given us is in regard, at this particular lesson that we're doing, is in regarding the Messiah Yahshua, because again, that's one of the divisions. But I'm saying again, just because somebody else might not have this understanding, I'm still gonna treat them as the Father bids me to treat them, so that they may be one in the truth.
Right.
Or if it be so that I might have become short of understanding that he might use them to bring me into some understanding. How, you know, who knows, you know, because that's the whole thing. Sometimes when we think we know a little bit, you know, we feel like we can't be taught by anybody, and that's not the Spirit of YAH at all. That's not the Spirit of, and the name of this ministry is the Spirit of YAH, not because we feel like we're the only ones that have the Spirit of YAH, but because the Spirit of YAH is what we seek.
Right.
You know, so I wanted to throw that out too. So anyway, we're gonna be touching on these scriptures on the one person that came and exemplified the Spirit of YAH better than any of us can even hope to attain to, but we try though, but better than and this is regarding Yeshua the Messiah, okay? Most of what we're going to be bringing is going to come directly out of what we call the Old Testament. Because see, here's the thing. You can't understand Yeshua if you open up between Matthew and Revelations.
Correct.
A lot of people call themselves thinking that they understand them. You can't understand them. He said, lo, I come in the volume of the books. It is written of me to do thy will. But the books he wasn't talking about, but he was talking about could not have been Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Because they had not been written when he said it.
Yeah, yep.
Huh? He said, lo, I come in the volume of the books. So to understand who he is, you can't understand him based off of some doctrinal, quote-unquote, New Testament concept. You got to understand him based off of the volume of the books that he was speaking of when he quoted that.
Correct.
Common sense, okay? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to understand who he is based off the volume of the books, okay? So about time when we finally get into Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we have a real good understanding of who the Messiah is. You see? Because right now in the 20th century, 21st century, modern day, the world has been teaching a Messiah, but it's not the Messiah of the scriptures.
Exactly.
See, the Messiah they teach about, first of all, one of them, the chief one is named Jesus, okay? The one that come in the volume of the books, his name wasn't Jesus. The one that came 2,000 years ago, his name wasn't Jesus. The name Jesus didn't even exist 2,000 years, okay? So why would you call him a name that didn't even exist at the time when he was here?
Right.
That don't even make common
Not
sense.
a translation, transliteration.
Correct.
None of that.
That's right. See, it's not a translation. It's not a transliteration. Matter of fact, if you go on and people it's funny. People like Wikipedia. When they hear something that they don't agree with, they like, oh, people be adding to take away from Wikipedia. But then if something they agree with, they be like, oh, you know, oh, look at that. Even Wikipedia say that. Well, I'm gonna be like, even Wikipedia says this. So if you go into look up the name Jesus in Wikipedia and look under the etymology of the name, it'll tell you that Jesus is not a translation, it's not a transliteration, it's a Hellenization. That's what it says, clear as day, Hellenization. And see, I'm saying Wikipedia because I understood it before I even went into Wikipedia.
Right.
Sorry, you know what I'm saying? I'm just giving you all a point of reference of that name. But and some of you may say, well, you know, name don't matter, whatever. But you got to understand that name Jesus carries on a whole nother doctrine within itself.
Right.
That the world has accepted as being a Messiah. If you understand the connection between Jesus and Zeus or even Isis, because you know you got some say that Jesus comes from Isis as well.
Yeah.
You know, the connection is a whole paganized connection, and then you will really be able to understand Sunday worship, Christmas, Easter, the doctrine that said that you can eat anything that live and breathe and move. Just long as you fry it up, put it on the plate, you can eat it. All of these doctrines, paganized doctrines, comes from where Jesus comes from.
And misinterpretation of the New Testament.
That's right. The whole absolutely misinterpretation. Okay, and even the image that you think of when you think of Jesus, that they had put throughout history, huh?
They portrayed, yeah.
Right. You know, it's false. Simple as that. It's false. Okay, so again, we're gonna see what the scripture says concerning Yahshua. We're gonna start this off at Genesis, the 1st chapter. We're gonna start this off at the very beginning. All right, we're gonna start off at Genesis, the 1st chapter, and 25th verse.
And Elohim made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
So here, when we read about the creation of man, we read how the scripture said, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So one thing that we can get out of reading the very first chapter of the scriptures is that the Father was not alone in his creation. And see, that's one of the main things that the non-Messianic is going to, which we probably should read that. It's in Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah 45th chapter, Isaiah 44th chapter, when it says, I was alone and there was no other strange Elohim before me. They used that scripture to try to say, well, there ain't no Yahshua or whatever, and they said it was just him alone, but when he's talking about him alone, he's talking about Elohim alone. And if you read that whole passage in Isaiah 44 and 45, it talks about idols and the idols that they were worshiping. But in a proper context, he was never alone. He was with somebody here from the very beginning. And whoever that he was with, they shared the same image. They had the same image. Because they couldn't have different images, or else they couldn't have created something that shared their image.
Right, correct.
Right, okay. And I have real good reason to believe that this was the Messiah here that he was speaking to when he said, let us make man in our image. But we're gonna explore that in subsequent scriptures. But if we don't agree with nothing else, we're going to agree to the fact that he was not by himself. The Father was not by himself from day one, right, when he was doing the creation here, because there wouldn't have been no us in the context, right? Much less him even talking to somebody doing the creation. Okay, let's turn our attention to Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter. Deuteronomy 18th chapter. We're pulling out some key scriptures within the law, and again, we're dealing with Yahshua, the prophesied Messiah. Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter. And see, here's another key concept here. Now, so-called non-Messianics or Torah-Only, they like to think that, hey, what we believe in keeping the law. We believe in keeping Torah. Right. Okay. Well, we still in Torah, so let's see how they do with this here. Deuteronomy 18th chapter and the 15th verse. Go ahead.
Yahuwah thy Elohim, 15. Yahuwah thy Elohim will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, unto him ye shall hearken. Right.
So this is Israel being told through the Father, from the Father through Moshe. He says, Yah the Elohim will raise up unto you all a prophet. He didn't say prophets plural. This is a prophet singular. Right. Because we know that there would be prophets plural, right? They're going to be prophets, going to be coming. But this is not a plural concept that he's bringing to them. He said that he would raise up to be a prophet, a specific prophet, singular prophet, from the midst of you all, of thy brethren. He's going to be like unto me being Moshe. He said, unto him you shall hearken. You shall hearken. This is not a choice in the matter in what you're going to do when he raises prophet up on. He said, you shall hearken. Okay? And see, the reason why I want to emphasize this is because when they said that you shall, when the Father gives a commandment, he said, you shall do this, you shall do that. usually there's always going to be a judgment against the shell.
Correct.
Huh?
Yep.
Like for instance, and correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm qualifying that. But I can't remember ever reading nowhere where it says that if I shave my beard, that I will be cut off from the people, or the punishment for me shaving my beard is going to be death.
Right.
Okay, I don't remember no judgment in scripture that says that. Okay, even when he tells us in the book of Numbers, he says, bid unto the children of Israel that they put fringes on their garments. That's what he tells them.
Right.
I have never read nowhere where he gives a judgment for not putting the fringes on your garments.
Right.
He tells you bid them to do that. He didn't say bid them that they may keep the Sabbath day. Bid them that they should not kill nobody.
Right.
I ain't read that nowhere, but I have read it said, bid the children of Israel that they put the fringes. But you gotta, again, when you talk about that division, you got a whole sect of us. We'll be doing a lesson somewhere, breaking down scripture. But wait a minute, brother. Well, how come your beard ain't this length? Okay, well, where your fringes at? Where your fringes at? Wait a minute. Listen.
It's on the outward appearance.
Right. Because the scripts that you coming with is killing them so bad. They can't kick against what you coming against, even though it's contrary to what they come with.
Right.
Man, but I don't see where that brother wearing no fringes at. How many times you done read stupid comments like that?
All the time.
But if the people that wasn't wearing fringes were dealing with a doctrine that you knew was incorrect, you would be dealing with them according to that doctrine. But you see how that spirit of division gets so deep within us,
right, that
we look, as long as that person ain't a part of our organization, we're gonna look for the negative.
Anything you find.
We're gonna try to find that negativity so that we can bring them down, and then we can put an exposed video on there.
Just like the Pharisees looked at Yahshua for whatever they were trying to catch.
Exactly. And that's another thing we good for. Expose. This person exposed.
Right.
What's up with that? I mean, I can't understand the concept. Because the only reason why you would do something like that is because you want people to look at you as being Yah sent, as opposed to this other person. That's why you got this person exposed, this person exposed, like this is Inside Edition or something. That's what it be, man. It's that mentality is tripped out. Yeah. But the whole concept is that, if you're gonna make a righteous judgment against what somebody is teaching or whatever, make a righteous judgment according to what's coming out their mouth, and not according to some other kind of thing, according to your own, what you call your level of righteousness or whatever, okay? But here, going back to this, he says that Yah should raise up unto thee a prophet from among thy brethren like unto thee. And the answer said, he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. That I shall command him. Now let's get deep with it. We're reading this in Deuteronomy 18th chapter. Had the law already been taught to the children of Israel by this time?
Right.
Had the Sabbath already been taught to them by this time? Yeah. Had the dietary law already been taught to them by this time? So what's so deep about this prophet coming that he's going to be giving us something that I have to listen to him?
Right.
That's deep when you really think about it. Because he done already gave the commandments. So here again, we're not really understanding how deep this prophet is that's coming, that is going to be commanding us even further. Even further, he's gonna do something even so deep that we are commanded that we need to listen to him, because he's gonna be coming with the Spirit of YAH.
Right, correct.
Ain't that deep?
Exactly.
Right, because the law had already been given to them. Everyone that was listening to Moses right here should knew about the fringes, they should knew about the commandments, they should knew about all the commandments. Wasn't nothing new in terms of the commandments. And it's funny because now if we would have read these same words back in Exodus, then we could have played around with it a little bit.
Right.
Well, yeah, you know, because they don't know about the Sabbath yet. They don't know about the dietary laws or whatever yet.
Right.
But he gave them this aspect almost at the very end of Torah right here. That's heavy, okay? Now check this out. So he says, he's going to raise up a mystery of thy brethren like unto me. Unto him ye shall, and there's that word again, you shall hearken. Okay? Verse 16.
According to all that thou desirest of Yahuwah thy Elohim in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuwah my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not.
Now he reminded them, because see, that's funny how he's bringing this, because I'm sure that as he's telling them about this prophet that's going to come from among Israel, he's even giving them it's almost kind of like the 7-day Sabbath. Remember the 7-day Sabbath to keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath Yahuwah thy Elohim. It's the Sabbath Yahuwah thy Elohim. Now he could have stopped right there in the commandment, but he says, he goes on and said, for Yah created the heaven and earth in 6 days and rested the 7th day. So he gave them a reasoning for the Sabbath day. He didn't do that with the other commandments. He just said, hey, don't make no graven images, don't do this, don't do that. Right. But with the 7th day, he said, now I said the 7th day, but I'm going to remind y'all that 6 days I work. So here, he did something else. He gave them a commandment to hearken unto this prophet. Now he's going to bring them back to
themselves asked for.
Say it again?
What they themselves asked for.
Right. Right. So that way this commandment won't seem strange.
Yeah, that next verse, like, bring it.
Exactly. Because when some people might have heard the 7th day, they might have been thinking, but then he had to remind them, hey, I created the earth in 6 days, but I rested the 7th day. So if you need a reason why you keep the 7th-day Sabbath, I'm giving it to you. Plain and simple. He did the same thing here. Him you shall hear, according to all that you desire of Yah. And we're gonna read that though. But here he said, and you all said, let me not hear the voice of Yah. So I'm bringing a prophet because this was something that was instituted on the day that y'all entered into a covenant with me.
Right.
Okay? Let me not hear the voice of Yah, my Elohim, neither let me see that great fire any more, that I die not. Okay? So again, we don't want to get all bent out of shape about this dude named Yahshua, because Yah could talk to me. He could talk to anybody. See, that's what they come with.
Yeah.
But they come with stupid stuff like that because they have not been taught the beginning of what we desired of the Father, that we don't want to hear his voice, that we're going to need a mediator or intercessor to deal with from the very beginning.
Correct.
From the law, you see? Okay, and he said, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not, verse 17.
And Yahuwah said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken.
Right. Right, exactly.
Well spoken.
Damn, we didn't say, see, y'all want to raise up some guy up, because y'all want to get off into this pagan worship that men do, worshiping men or whatever. That ain't what he said. That's what y'all say.
Right.
That's what you all say. Come up with your own reasons for why Yahshua is not the Messiah.
Exactly.
That stuff come all the way out of Greek mythology, Egyptian, or Babylon, what y'all doing.
Come out of Torah.
Huh? It can come out the mouth of the Most High, okay? And so we're gonna focus a little bit when he says, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. So the Father didn't come with the same spirit that they come with. He said, what they desire to not to hear my voice, they have well spoken. The reason why he said they well spoken, because the Father had worked that out from the very beginning. What they had well spoken was not just something that came out of their own hearts and minds. It was something that the Father instituted in them to come with.
Right.
And that's what we're going to go back and touch on that. Exodus, the 19th chapter. Exodus 19th chapter, and start this off at verse 1.
In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were going forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mountain. And Moses went up to Elohim, and Yahuwah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Yaakov, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I have done to the what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
So this was our job here, that he had brought us out of Egypt for us to perform this covenant that he had already made with Abraham, that he established with Abraham, and now when he remembered the covenant that he made with Abraham, he brought us out of Egypt, okay? He says, now listen, I done already bought, y'all done already bear witness. If any of y'all sitting up here debating who bought y'all up out of the land of Egypt, then y'all were stupid, okay? Because there's no way that y'all could have came out under your own power.
Right.
Y'all were just that weak, and Egypt was just that powerful, okay? So he said, y'all done seen what I have done, you know, when I brought y'all out on eagle's wings, okay? But now we're at a part here at verse 5. He said, now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, because I didn't just bring y'all out of there just because y'all were crying. Right. I brought y'all out of there because of a covenant that was already instituted before y'all was even born. Okay? He says, now if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be unto me a peculiar treasure unto me above all the people, for all the earth is mine. Wow, so we sitting there listening, we like, wow, you know, we've never been a nation ever before. We have never been a nation. We have been in Egypt for 400 years, but we're not Egyptians. And then we know about Abraham was given a covenant, but he was never really a nation within himself, really, because he never really saw the, you know, he may have saw his sons, you know, he saw Ishmael, he saw Midian, he probably saw all them, but that covenant promise nation, you know, he never even physically witnessed that before.
Because he didn't have the inheritance in that land.
Right.
Standing on.
Right, exactly. And even our forefathers, the 12 patriarchs, they never even seen it before. Right. You know what I'm saying? All they were was just a people, the Israelites. Whether they were living in Egypt or whether they were living in Canaan, they were never a nation on their own. In their land. And now here we are, having been struggling in Egypt 400 years, and now we come out, and the Father, the Elohim, the power that have made that possible is letting us know that it ain't just us coming up out of Egypt, but right now we are in a position where we could be up high above every nation on this earth. All we got to do is worship our Elohim with the same zeal and fervor that those pagans worship theirs. That's all we got to do. Because they're scared of us. They got to be scared of us because they done saw what we done did to the Egyptians based on what he did. So all we got to do is get this constitution and walk according to it. Right. So that's the part that, and then he said, and you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Now you know what's so deep about that is that he gave them their assignment even before he even gave them the 10 Commandments. Even though the 10 Commandments existed, but as far as the actual written 10 Commandments, they had not yet came to pass yet. It's about to come to pass in the next chapter, but before those 10 Commandments, understand why you're keeping the 10 Commandments. The reason why you're keeping the 10 Commandments is because you have a role. In other words, what be the use of me if I got the, as an example, I got the whatever, Jacksonville Police Department, here are the rules of being a Jacksonville police officer, whatever. How am I gonna stick to those rules of a Jacksonville police officer and I ain't even got the role of a Jacksonville police officer?
Right.
See, I have to first have the job, and then I have to adhere to the rules of the job. So this is what happened here. He first gave them the job. You will be a nation of priests, a holy nation, a peculiar treasure unto me. That sound good. I hate to think what that would have been like if the Romans would have had this.
Right.
If the Greeks would have had this. If the Egyptians would have had this. Oh, that would have been something heavy. Huh?
They would probably took hold to the real.
Right. Exactly. But he gave it to Israel. It's heavy. But this is what the foundation of us as a people, Israel, that we had a role. And after he gave us that role of if we obey and keep his voice, then he gives us what we have to, his voice that we have to obey too. But before we hear his voice, something else happened. Skip down to verse 16.
And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud. So all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because Yahuwah descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace. And the whole mount quaked greatly.
So they not only heard this very loud, almost disorder kind of, it was just something that you wasn't gonna be asleep at this thing. I don't care how sleepy you was just gonna be like, whoa.
Yep.
Have you ever heard thunder that shook you like, whoa, have you ever heard that before?
Yep.
But I tell you what you ain't never heard. You ain't never heard that same thunder continuously. You heard it one time, this shit made your heart skip a beat.
Right.
And now, did you hear that? Did you hear that? She asked me that last night. Did you hear that? But you ain't never heard it ongoing like boom, boom, like a marching band. And then you got trumpets sounding. And then on top of all of that, you ain't even still. You like this.
Mountains quake.
You like, you can't even, you got the whole, you shake it.
Wow.
Okay, because see, some of us don't like amusement park rides. And I'm sure some of them probably wouldn't have liked that either, but at this point they ain't had no choice because they was hearing it and feeling it all. Okay, now understand, these is what they hearing, trumpets and loud noise and whatever. You think the Father had to actually give them the commandments amidst all that? No, he was doing something that he would give them that would take them, that if they could not keep these things based off of the position, then surely they would do it based off of the fear. It was the fear. It was that fear. Because see, Egyptians already had a taste of this fear. But they on the other side.
Right.
Now I got to give it to y'all so y'all know that this ain't nothing to play with right here.
Right.
And that's what he did. So now in the 20th chapter, after he give them the foundation of the commandments, the 10 commandments, pick it up at verse 18.
And Mount.
Exodus 20th chapter and the 18th verse. Right?
And all the people saw thunderings and lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they were moved and stood afar off. And they said unto Moshe, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said unto the people, Fear not, for Elohim is come to prove you, that his fear may be before your faces, that you sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moshe drew near unto the thick darkness where Elohim was.
Look how deep that is. Now he's letting them know, hey, this is what happened. He come to prove y'all. First, Moshe was trying to calm them down. Oh, fear not. And he tried to calm them down with an understanding of what was going on. Because this sounds like we don't know what's going to happen. Some of us are going to literally die in this turmoil that we're in right now. He look, fear not, fear not. You know, he just come to prove y'all so that his fear could be before y'all faces. You know, what y'all think is going to happen ain't going to happen. But if y'all mess around, it's going to happen just like y'all think it's going to happen, okay? But he come to show y'all his fear and his power. And he said, but see, why he's telling them the fear, now he's trying to bring them down. The father's telling them, that's good what they said. Very good what they said. I want them to say exactly what came out of their mouth. Moshe, you speak to us because we cannot deal with him directly face to face. So based off of, so here in Torah, we done already established that during the creation, Yah wasn't by himself. We established that, and we established that he had to have an intercessor to Israel all times. He never dealt with us directly face to face. He always had to have an intercessor from day one. Okay? Now, we're going back to what he said. He says that thou shalt raise up a prophet from among your brethren like unto me. So now we want to get into the deeper aspect of how this specific prophet, singular, was going to be like unto Moses, okay? And one place I like to go to in that is Numbers, the 12th chapter. Numbers, the 12th chapter. Numbers, the 12th chapter, and we're going to start this at, we'll start this off at verse 1. Numbers, the 12th chapter, and verse 1.
And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moshe because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, have Yahuwah indeed spoken only by Moshe? Have he not spoken also by us? And Yahuwah heard it.
Now you see how quick it was? Now these same people, which is his siblings, they were there when the mountains were shaking and all that stuff going on. They were there scared like everybody else was scared, okay? But now when things started to get calm,
they started feeling.
They started feeling themselves. We started forgetting, right? And here it is, and see, when they came up out of Egypt, the scripture, I think that's the 15th chapter, that's where the father identifies Miriam as a prophetess. He calls her a prophetess. And she sings a song of Moses, and that's a beautiful song she sings. She talking about what the father done did, and she talking about what the father's gonna do in the end time in that song. So she was bringing the word clearly. So here she is right here. You know, Moses done went out and had married an Ethiopian woman, which the law does not say that you can't marry an Ethiopian woman. That's nowhere in the law. But that's what he did. He married an Ethiopian woman. And I guess, according to what we read in Scripture, I guess she used that as an occasion to speak out against her little brother, Moses. Have he indeed only by Moses? Have he not spoken also by us? And said the Father heard it. Verse 3.
Now the man Moshe was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth.
Right, and the reason why he's letting you know that about Moshe was basically because, first of all, if he wasn't meek, they probably would have never came up on him in the first place. Okay? And the most important reason why it's mentioned that because of the fact that Moshe was not going to come against his brother and sister. That's where his meekness came out. See, this kind of teaches us that sometimes we allow ourselves to get into these verbal assaults and verbals, this against people, whatever. But the Father, you know, his judgment has to stand. We can't sometimes fight our own battles sometimes, or allow ourselves to engage in rhetoric sometimes, because that would be in the mindset of people that they just be on that for whatever reason. And you be trying to figure that out. Why is this brother coming at me like that? Why is this sister coming at me like that? I ain't said nothing against these people. You don't have no, you be trying to figure that out. You know, and maybe if I would just let them know that I ain't like how you think I am.
But
you know,
it's on the spiritual level. It's on the spiritual
level. But you still be thinking that it's something that you could say to offset
Right.
that thing. And it's never nothing.
Nope.
It's never nothing. It ain't, because the Father is the only one that has to work that out. So here, Moses in his meetings was like, man, this is my brother, this is my sister, you know. No, what we did? Look, whose hand was that was raised up when the flood turned back? Was it you? Was it? That's what we did.
Right.
That's what we would have did. Okay. Who was the one that walked up way up there on the top of the mountain? I walked up there on the top of the mountain, and the Father said, you better go take your ass back down there and deal with them ignorant people, because if they touch this mountain, I'm going to kill them. And I'm telling the Father, but you done already told me you done already told them not to come. Look, go back down there. What was y'all doing when I was going up and down the mountain?
That wasn't no short trip.
That wasn't no short trip. And then when I came back, I had these heavy ass things said, well, and y'all wasn't carrying them. Y'all wasn't up there carrying them. That voice that y'all heard that scared the hell out of y'all, I was up there hearing much more than y'all was hearing. Me. See, that's what we would have did.
Right.
But Moshe was like, you know what? My meekness is not even going to allow myself to get into this. Because first thing, everything that I would say out of my mouth, they know. See, that's how the spiritual aspect is. Because the stuff that you will wind up telling the people, they really already know that, but it don't even really matter.
Yeah, because if they really like had it in them to know that, well, if they wasn't operating under a spirit,
right,
they would have never said that.
Right. Correct. Absolutely.
Knowing what they already
Absolutely.
know.
Absolutely.
Like, there's nothing you can bring to them at that point.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely zero. Absolutely anything that they had to learn, it wasn't going to come out of Moshe's mouth.
Right.
And so he was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it alone. So that's why he's letting us know that he was meek among all the men on the face of the earth, because he hearing this stuff, and he was hearing this stuff for 40 years. You know, whether it been first cousins, brothers, sisters, whatever. That's just the kind of people that we were. We create confusion like this because we're just so prone to it, okay? Right. But he says, and so he said he's meek above all the men on the face of the earth, verse 4.
And Yahuwah spake suddenly unto Moshe, and unto Aharon, and unto Miriam, come ye three out unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out.
And I am convinced, even though I can't read this, I'm convinced that when he called them three, I am so convinced that Miriam and Aaron was what?
Well, the first.
Huh?
Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know. What you guys?
I think that they were convinced that, hey, all that whatever we dealing with, it's about to be dealt with now. Yeah. Because little brother Moshe, he done got beside himself.
Right.
And besides this, the law says, out of law 2 or 3 witnesses, let a matter be established.
Right.
So we 2 witnesses, and he just 1 witness. See, that's how we use the law like that.
Yeah.
We 2 witnesses. So how you gonna come up against 2 witnesses? We elder than him. He's a younger. See, that's the way we think. We think, we come up with stuff like that to justify ourselves.
Right.
So I'm almost positive that when he called them 3 out, I'm like, they was like, about time. We've been begging for this.
Right.
We've been begging for him to come take care of this thing right here, because this has been getting on my nerves. Ever since we came out there, I don't know what the little brother been thinking he on. But he said them 3 came out. And what's the next verse?
And Yahuwah came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle. And called Aharon and Miriam, and they both came forth.
Now, I'm thinking what might have been in their mind then was, okay, he's calling us first so that we can plead our cause, and maybe we can have the Father maybe go a little bit easy on our little brother here.
Right.
We could tell him, he called both of us first, because in the court of law, that's what happened. You got the plaintiff and you got the defendant.
Right.
Who's the one that speaks first all the time?
Plaintiff.
Plaintiff speaks first all the time. He's the one that bought the case, right?
Right.
So this is what's happening. He called them two. You two come forth. Okay, and they both came forth. We in Numbers, the 12th chapter. Numbers, verse 6.
And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, Yahuwah, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moshe is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of Yahuwah shall he behold. Wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?
And I always say this, if I'd have been Aharon then, when he asked me that question, I wouldn't have probably heard the last word. I'd have fainted right there on the spot. But that's when he came to do it. He said, if there be a prophet among you, I myself will make myself known unto him in a vision, will speak to him in a dream. He could have said him or her, because here was Miriam, a prophetess.
Right.
But so the prophet is the one that hears the word of Yah and teaches the people.
Right.
That's what the prophet does by definition. So they were prophets, so to speak, because they did hear his voice and whatever, but he let them know, hey, y'all only heard it in a vision, or I will speak to y'all in a dream.
Right.
But y'all little brother right there, with him, it ain't even so. With him, I will speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. Not only that, but he will actually see me. He will behold me. Now, why were y'all afraid to speak against my servant Moshe? And verse 9.
And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against them, and he departed.
Right. So he's angry because of the fact that he actually had to come down and deal with this. And you know how that is.
Right.
When somebody do something messed up, especially if it be your children or whatever, you be like, you be a little bit mad, but then if you start talking to them to reiterate stuff that they should have known better, it makes you that much angry. And that's the way it reads. It don't read that he was angry when he came down, but after he came down and said the way he said it, wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? I'd have been, it would have been a long time before I woke up, but that would have been me. Man, I'd have been like, what happened?
Wow.
But anyway, the point is that he's making a distinction between any other prophet and Moshe. See, that's a distinction that he's making right here. The scripture said that I will send a prophet like unto your, from among your brethren, like unto me. So this won't be any prophet. This will be one that will be like unto me. Grace and peace, brothers and sisters. Excuse me while I interrupt this message. I had wanted to actually bring another point in, and where we're at right here in Numbers, the 12th chapter. We're reading this because we are being reminded of how Moses was a unique prophet unto the Most High, unlike any other prophet. And again, we are reminded in Deuteronomy 18 that he promised that he would send a prophet like unto Moses, okay? And so we are reading his uniqueness here, but I didn't get a chance to stress another point here in this passage here in Numbers, the 12th chapter. So I am going to pick it up right where I left off here in Numbers, the 12th chapter, the 10th verse, because I want to stress this other point as well. It reads in Numbers 12 and 10 that, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aharon looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aharon said unto Moshe, Alas, my master, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Now you see what Aharon did there? He could have, well, technically speaking, he could have prayed directly to the Father, but the only problem with that was that his brother that was standing there, the one that they had an issue against, he is the one that the Father not only ordained to be a prophet, but also to be a mediator between him and the people. So instead of Aharon praying to the Father, he actually prayed to Moshe and begged him that he would beseech him that he would not lay that sin upon him that they had did. And after he did that, I'm going to skip down to verse 13, and it says, and Moshe cried unto Yah, saying, heal her now, O Elohim, I beseech thee. You see what happened there? After Aharon beseeched the mediator, the intercessor, the mediator / intercessor beseeched the Father on his behalf. So when we try to understand the whole scope of who Yahshua is, he is actually, in every aspect of the word, the prophesied Messiah that would come just like unto Moses, unlike any other prophet, okay? So I hope that tidbit also helped in understanding the concept of who Yahshua is and who this prophet like unto Moses would be. But before I let you go back to the video, I have to throw something else here, okay? A little commercial here, okay? This book here, The Gospel, Raw, Uncut, and Unheard, okay? This book has been instrumental in waking up many people into the raw and uncut truth that the Father is bringing to us through his word, okay? This book is available at the website www.thespiritofyah.com. thespiritofyah.com, okay? Go there and you can get this book. Notice that this is a nice size tabletop edition of the book. The print inside is large print, okay? And it reads just like the way I teach, okay? You got humor, but most importantly, you got the raw and uncut word in here, okay? So if you don't have this book, you really, truly, no matter how much you think you know, you need to get this. And if you know, this book can be a good instrument for you to have so that you may teach others, family, friends, loved ones, or whatever, okay? This book, The Gospel Raw, Uncut, and Unheard, is available at the website www.thespiritofyah.com, okay? I return you back to the regularly scheduled program. So first of all, I was one that led the people out of Egypt. I was the one that gave them the law. And I was the one that actually spoke with the Father directly, face to face. Correct. So this prophet that he prophesied about in Deuteronomy 18 has to fit that criteria, okay? Hallelujah, okay? And we're dealing with Yahshua, the prophesied Messiah. But let's go into Hosea, the 12th chapter. I'm going to read one verse there, Hosea, the 12th chapter, and show another aspect of what this prophet did. Hosea, the 12th chapter. Hosea, the 12th chapter, and one verse, Hosea 12 and 13.
And by a prophet, Yahuwah brought Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet was he preserved.
Right. So when he brought Israel out of Egypt, that was salvation. He ruled, and as a king, he brought Israel out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. That's a pretty heavy thing for a prophet to do.
Right.
So this prophet, like unto Moshe, would have all the attributes of being a delivering prophet, ruler, king, and priest. All this criteria said, now you will have I will send you a prophet like unto me. Okay? Oh, now let's go into Isaiah the 11th chapter. Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11th chapter. And we're going to start this off here in Isaiah 11 and verse 1.
And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Yishay, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of Yahuwah shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of Yahuwah.
That's first. The first thing I can think of is a prophet having these things here. And we gonna identify where it's gonna come from. He's gonna be a rod out of the stem of YAH, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, okay? And the Spirit of YAH, it shall rest upon him. And this spirit of wisdom and understanding, because as a prophet, you're gonna need these things right here. The spirit of counsel and might. So that might is something real deep there. We're talking about in terms of straight up deliverance from your adversary right there that you're going to need, okay? The spirit of knowledge and of the fear of YAH. And again, that fear of YAH was the very thing that he was trying to instill in us from day one, okay? That's how this branch is going to come out of the stem of YAH, verse 3.
And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahuwah. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked.
So I will be as bold enough to say that even in Isaiah's day here, and Isaiah was a prophet that lived during the latter part of Israel being a nation, that this entity that he's talking about in a context of a futuristic in terms of reproving the earth and judging the earth, that part had not happened yet.
Right.
But at the same time, this entity would have already had to come, and we ain't going to say he came based off of what we're reading here. We're going to read other scriptures to show that he'd already came. But the point is that now, who could come on the scene right now and prove that he is out of the stem of Jesse?
Not one.
Nobody. So by reasoning in the scriptures, this entity would have already had to come. But we know he came based off of other scriptures that we're going to read about in terms of the prophesied Messiah. But again, all Israel has been put into captivity. We had no idea what, regardless of what people try to say, we don't know what tribe we come from. We don't know if we came from a king. We don't know. We probably came from, we don't know.
Right.
We just don't know. I could tell you I'm from Yahudah all day long. I ain't got nothing to prove to you that.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
So I'm not gonna say that.
Right.
I'm not gonna come with nothing that I have but people do so and other people be believing it.
Right,
okay. Right. This Messiah, he's coming out of YAH, and YAH is the father of King David. Okay. And we read in verse 4 how, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. For the meek of the earth. And again, that meek is a attribute that is a YAH attribute. Because we just read earlier how Moshe was meek above all men on the face of the earth. And what happened? Father came and stood in the gap for him. He didn't even have to raise his voice and say, Father, do you see what these people doing to me? Well, he didn't even have to say that. He didn't have to say a word. Okay? But that's who the Messiah is coming back for. Okay? He shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. Verse 5.
And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockroach's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahuwah, as the waters cover the sea.
Right, so we know this is futuristic, what he's talking about here. Okay, verse 10.
And in that day there shall be a root of YAH, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious.
Hallelujah. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuwah shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea.
So here he's telling you where he's going to bring his people from, the remnant of Israel. He's going to bring them from these lands here. Go ahead.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth.
So you got some people teaching that that's already happening now. That this is already happening now. You know, you got some that say this started in 1948.
Right.
But see, it couldn't start in 1948 because, first of all, everything else had to first be established before that. He would have had to rebuke the nations before that happened. You know, he would have had to bring the kingdom of YAH on this earth in order for this to happen. It could not have happened while all of these other nations are still existing in the power that they exist in.
At the same time, this part, verse 6 through 9, already came to pass.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
Earth will be full of the knowledge of the
Absolutely.
Lord. And at this point, you know, the earth is not serving the Father.
Not at all.
Collectively.
Not at all. Matter of fact, collectively, there's not one nation on this earth that is obedient to the laws and statutes of the Most High. Period. Ain't one nation on this earth subject to the laws and statutes of the Most High. Okay? But like you say, all that would have had to happen in order for that latter part of that to have taken place. Okay, there ain't gonna be no man-made thing that's gonna cause that to happen. Okay, neither will it be a polluted land that he will be bringing them back to.
Right.
Okay, all right. Let's go on to Jeremiah the 23rd chapter. Jeremiah 23rd chapter.
Behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth.
Now, this is the same one we just read about in Isaiah. Same one. And it's not David, because you got some people talking about this is David resurrected right here. But this is not David it's talking about. He said, I will raise unto David a righteous branch. And a king shall, he would have clearly told you that this is David he's talking about. Even in the other place we just read, but it's not David that he's speaking about here. He says, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. Verse 6.
In his days Yehudah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. This is the name whereby he shall be called, Yahuwah our righteousness.
Whoa, now look what it, see that 6th verse says, in his days. His days and who days? Is his days, I mean, his days what, 1948?
Right.
It ain't 2012. And at least at this point it's not 2012.
Right.
So it ain't his days yet.
Right.
But it said in his days Yahudah shall be saved. So what is this Yahudah going back into the land and this people going back? That can't happen.
Right.
Because his days ain't happened yet. He said in his days Yahudah shall be saved. Okay? And Israel shall dwell safely. So the people ain't going to dwell safely in the context of being brought back into the land until his days is established.
Right.
It's a real clear concept, okay? Verse 7.
Therefore, behold, the days shall come, saith Yahuwah, that they shall no more say, Yahuwah liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but Yahuwah liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
So for me to understand who the Messiah is, I have to understand that he's going to be a prophet like unto Moses, that he's going to come out of the lineage of Jesse or David, and that his ultimate goal is to bring Israel, to establish peace on the earth by bringing the covenant people back into the land of their promise. So I have not read no prophecies about he's going to come and he's going to do away with the laws of the Most High, that he's going to take everybody up to heaven.
Matter of fact, in the last book of the Old Testament, it says, remember the law of Moshe, my servant. After it speaks about him you know,
right,
the Son of Righteousness, which is none other than the Messiah.
Hallelujah. Matter of fact, we're gonna end with that one there. That's a good one to end with, right there. And see again, like you say, when you go into Revelations or any part of the quote unquote New Testament, you see what you said means nothing unless you can have it established in the volume of the books.
Right.
Ain't that something?
Right.
So you can read that in the very last part of the Revelations, but you done already read it being established by through understanding out of the volume of the books.
Right.
So that's we're gonna close on that one there. Let's go on to Jeremiah the 33rd chapter. Jeremiah 33rd chapter, and we're gonna start this one off at verse 14, which is pretty much what we already read. We're just going to read it again. Jeremiah 33 and verse 14.
33 to 14. Behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel and to the house of Yehudah. In those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto Dawid, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days, Yehudah shall be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this is the name wherewith he shall be called, Yahuwah our righteousness. For thus saith Yahuwah, Dawid shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. Neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings, and to do sacrifice continually. And the word of Yahuwah came unto Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, if you can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, and that there should not be day and night in their season, then also my covenant be broken with Dawid my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites, the priests, my ministers.
So basically, we're reading that the covenant concerning David having one to sit upon his throne, that can never be broken. It was suspended based off the people's wickedness, but it's gonna be fulfilled in everlastingness. Same thing with the Levitical priesthood. That's been suspended. But they're gonna come back on the scene and be priests to the Most High in the temple of the Most High. Because he said that I have not broken that covenant at all.
Because you still see day and night.
Right, because you still see day and night. Absolutely, absolutely. And notice this is Jeremiah, and again, Jeremiah is one of the prophets in the last, matter of fact, if you read in the 34th chapter, which we're not going to read, we can read about Nebuchadnezzar, we can read about Zechariah, the last king of Yehudah. All that was being done away with in Jeremiah's day. But he letting them know, hey, even though y'all about to go in this captivity, all this is still going to be established. So about the time the Messiah finally do come, you need to understand him based off of the everlasting covenant.
Right.
That is represented by day and night still going on and on and on. But see, I don't go into no church and read about the Messiah being the son of David.
Right.
Matter of fact, they made him to be half Elohim, half man when he came out the womb. They done created a whole nother doctrine on who he is without understanding who he is based off of what the scriptures is saying.
Right. Correct. Okay?
So here it is, when we understand he said, hey, I come in the volume of the books. We're reading the volume of the books now, and what they understand, I don't read in the volume of the books. That's where you understand between truth and lies. Read the volume of the books concerning him, because he said, hey, they spoke of me. And then read about what that man up on the pulpit is trying to teach you concerning him.
Right.
That's somebody else he's telling you about. Okay? But here the Father say, hey, that David shall never lack for a man to sit upon the throne of Israel, even though right now, it ain't nobody sitting on that throne right now.
Right, but he's going to bring the covenant.
He's going to bring it back, absolutely.
The day and the night.
That's right. And the Levites, they shall never lack for a man to offer burnt offerings before me continually. But ain't no Levites doing this thing right now.
Nobody can't even prove that.
Can't even prove that. Absolutely. Okay. Let me see. Where did you leave off at?
21.
21. Go ahead. Read 20 again.
22.
Wait, read 20 again.
Thus saith Yahuwah, if you can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, and that there should not be day and night in their season, then may also my covenant be broken with Dawid my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, with the Levites and priests my ministers. As the hosts of heaven cannot be numbered, neither sand of the sea be measured, so will I multiply the seed of Dawid my servant and the Levites that minister unto me. Moreover, the word of Jeremiah word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah, saying, Considerest thou not what this people have spoken, saying, the two families which Yahuwah have chosen, he have even cast them off.
Right, and that's what he has done. See that he have done that. He said, consider what they're saying. I'm telling y'all that the throne of David is going to be forever, and that the Levites' order is going to be forever. But in y'all present day reality, those two, yes, right. Absolutely, even into our day.
Yep, to this day.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them. Thus saith Yahuwah, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth, then will I cast away the seed of Yaakov, and Dawid my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. For I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them.
So for the fullness of Yahshua to be established according to prophecy, the people have to return in power,
right,
in their own land. And then he will be there reigning on the throne of Dawid according to the promise. But our reality is the same reality that Jeremiah and them had these many years ago. All right, let's go into Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. Zechariah 3. Zechariah, he was also one of the latter prophets during this same exact time. As a matter of fact, he was after Jeremiah, because he was alive during the time when we were in captivity to the Medo-Persian Empire. Yeah, Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. And he's about to give a prophecy here in regarding Yahshua, because again, we're reminded that that the Messiah is spoken of in the volume of the books. Zechariah, the 3rd chapter, and verse 1.
And he shewed me Yahushua, the high priest, standing before the messenger of Yahuwah, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Yahuwah rebuke thee, O Satan, even Yahuwah that have chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is this not a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Yahushua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the messenger.
And again, this Yahshua that is talking about here, he's an actual person here that was alive during the time of Zechariah the prophet. He was one of those that came back from the captivity of Babylon when they came to rebuild the temple during that time, when Darius gave them, well, the father actually spoke to Darius. And told them, hey, go ahead and cause the people to come back and build the temple in Jerusalem. So that's what he did. And then there was one there, a priest named Yahshua, that was there with Zerubbabel there. So this is a prophecy that Zechariah is getting, and he's utilizing Yahshua as a part of his prophecy. But go ahead.
And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with chains of raiment. And I said, let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head, and clothed him with garments. And the messenger of Yahuwah stood by. And the messenger of Yahuwah protested unto Yahushua, saying, thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, if thou wilt walk in my ways, if thou wilt keep my charge, then thou shalt also judge my house, and shalt also keep my courts, and I will give thee places to walk among these that stand by. Hear now, O Yahushua, high priest, thou and thy fellows that sit before thee, for they are men wondered at. For behold, I will bring forth my servant, the branch.
Right. So he gives his prophecy go ahead.
Through the high priest.
Right, through the high priest, whose name happened to be Yahshua, which means Yah is salvation, or Yah saves, and he tells them how he's going to also have a rulership with that priesthood. And he signifies that by putting that fair mitre upon his head, okay? He's going to get a little bit deeper than this, though. We're going to the 6th chapter of Zechariah. Zechariah, the 6th chapter. Zechariah, 6th chapter, and we're going to go right to the point. Zechariah, 6th chapter, and verse 9.
And the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, take them of the captivity, even of Heldai, of Tobiah, and of Jedediah, which are come from Babylon, and come down the same day, and go into the house of Josiah, the son of Zephaniah. Then take silver and gold, and make crowns, and set them upon the head of Yahushua, the son of Josedek, the high priest.
Right, so that crown, that's the same thing as a mitre, or a crown. He says, make crowns of silver and gold, and set them on the head of Yahshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest. Go ahead.
And speak unto him, saying, thus speaketh Yahuwah of hosts, saying, behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and shall build the temple of Yahuwah. Even he shall build the temple of Yahuwah, and shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and he shall be a priest upon his throne. And the counsel of peace shall be between them both. Right.
So here we got a name here, which is Yahshua, signified by his priest. We got the prophecy of him, and knowing that he is the one identified as the branch. We talk about the branch. It's talking about the branch of Dawid. It's talking about because we've been reading the prophecies concerning the branch of Dawid, and it's showing that he's both a priest and a king ruling on the throne. Israel never had a ruler out of Levi other than Moshe. Moshe was the only one that reigned, that he wasn't really reigning like a king, but he ruled over the people.
Right.
So he was a king by all practical purposes. I'm sure that when the Jericho looked at him, and when when all the other Canaanites looked at him, he was looked at as a king.
The commander, the head,
the ruler,
yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Other people, correct. So, but he was the only one out of Levi that done that. But now he said that, hey, the prophecy was that I'm going to send a prophet like unto me. Him you shall hear. So here we got Yahshua, but this Yahshua is a priest. So he was specifically out of Levi, but he represented the prophesied Yahshua that would actually be out of Yahudah, out of Dawid, that would be both a priest and a king, prophetically speaking. Okay? So that's what Zechariah brings us, okay? Let's go on to Micah, the 5th chapter, Micah 5. Yeah, back up a few books. We're in Micah, the 5th chapter. And start this off at verse 2, Micah 5 and 2.
But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Yehudah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be a ruler in Israel.
Well, the priest. But he said, but thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Yahudah, yet out of thee, prophetically, shall he come forth that unto me, that is to be a ruler, that is to be, and I said A by mistake. Yeah, it didn't say A, okay? It said that is to be ruler in Israel, right, who's going forth had been from of old, from everlasting. How can this one that is being prophesied that had not yet come, it says it's going forth, have been from old, from everlasting. Mike is telling us here that he already existed. And he existed even before he existed. That's heavy right there. Right. So here it is in the quote-unquote Old Testament, we see the prophecy concerning this one that will come out of Bethlehem that is to be ruler in Israel. And then what? Verse 3.
Therefore will he give them up until the time that she which travaileth have brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel.
Wow. He said, therefore will he give them up. Who's that he that's going to give them up? That he. Therefore will he give them up. Who is the he? Real simple. It's not a trick question. Huh?
It sounds like talking about the one who's prophesied.
Right. The one is exactly. The one that's coming out of Bethlehem. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was a trick question.
That wasn't a trick question. It said, therefore will he give them up. So this is talking about the one that's coming out of Bethlehem that is to be ruler. So he is to be ruler in Israel by prophecy. But now he do something. He said, but first he's going to have to give them up.
So that's what he did when he went and sat at the right hand of the Father and gave us up?
Right. Well, that's what he did when he came in the flesh. So in other words, Mike is letting us know that this one that we kept reading about that's going to reign and prosper and be a priest, he first did something else before he could do that. See, we hadn't read that up to this point. But again, when we try to deal with the prophesied Messiah, we have to deal collectively with everything that was written of him to do.
Right.
You know, see again, when Yahshua came, you had a lot of them coming to them talking about was expected for him to rule and reign. But they missed out on the other prophecies relating to what he had to do.
Right.
Here, Micah said at first he's going to have to give them up. Before he can reign forever and ever over the people, he's going to give them up until the time that she which travaileth had brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return to the children of Israel. That's heavy.
So when you say give him up, that meant when he left, right?
That means when Israel, the whole Israel as a whole, went into captivity.
Right.
See, we pretty much read that in Jeremiah, the 33rd chapter. Because he said this is the promise that the branch of that David should never want for a man to sit on the throne of David. And that Levi should never lack for somebody to minister unto him. But the people there saying, well, what's going on? Because we done in captivity. But see, but later on, the one that would be that branch will come and have did something else. Here we read that he had given them up. But now we got to go and read something even more specific of what he would do that would cause him to give them up, okay, according to prophecy again, okay? Let's go on to Isaiah the 53rd chapter, Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53, and we're going to start this off with, matter of fact, let's start this off with Isaiah 52 as a matter of fact. Isaiah 52, and start this off at verse 13. Isaiah 52 and verse 13.
Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled.
Oh, you know what? Oh, this is crazy. Hold on, I'm sorry. Start this, go up to the 8th verse. Isaiah 52 and verse 8.
Thy watchmen shall lift up the voice. With the voice together shall they sing, for they shall see eye to eye, when Yahuwah shall bring again Zion.
Right, so we talking about when he's going to bring about the whole world going to be able to see that.
Right.
Go ahead.
Break forth into joy, sing together, ye waste places of Jerusalem, for Yahuwah have comforted his people. He have redeemed Jerusalem. For Yahuwah have made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our Elohim.
What you got out of that? That's heavy. Ain't that deep?
Yep.
What you drew out of that?
The Messiah being revealed in the clouds of heaven.
Right, now that's deep. He said the Messiah, but look specifically what we read, and that's absolutely correct, which we're going to read in the next chapter. But here he says, Yah have made bare his holy arm. And again, when we read holy arm right here, we're thinking that the arm is a part of the Father, which is fair.
Right.
But when we're going to go deep into that holy arm, he said he had made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of earth shall see the salvation of our Elohim. So something about that holy arm is going to bring forth that salvation.
The holy arm is kind of like slang for my right hand man.
Absolutely, absolutely. But that is exactly.
Just like how he brought out, like how he said he brought them out with an outstretched
And
hand.
right. With stretched out arm and fury poured out. Absolutely. But he calls it his holy arm, right? Keep going. Check this out. This is heavy.
Depart ye, go out from thence, touch no unclean thing. Go ye out of the midst of her, be you clean that bear the vessels of Yahuwah. For you shall not go out with haste, nor by flight, for Yahuwah will go before you, and the Elohim of Israel will be your reward. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high.
Now he's talking about my servant. I'm going to show you that this servant is his holy arm that he just spoke about. He said, behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He, singular, shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. Check this out.
And as many were astonished at thee, his visage was so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So shall he sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him.
Now he said that his visage, his visage, what does that mean? His face.
Yeah, his face.
Right. He said it was so marred more than any man. Why was his visage marred? Where did that come from? I see how the prophecy throws something in there like that. First you talk about the holy arm, how the holy arm will be bare, and that how through it is going to bring the salvation of our Elohim. And then he's talking about, behold, my servant shall deal prudently. The servant shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. But then he throw in, as many were astonished at thee, his visage is his servant that he's just talking about. It was marred more than any man. So he's about to get into something that he had to do before he could attain to this latter part of the prophecy. You see how he just threw that in? It was marred. What marred? What made ugly or what? What is that? No, he's just trying to tell you that this servant, it was something else that happened to him that caused him to be marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. Verse 15.
So shall he sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him. For that which have not been told them, that shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider.
Whoa. So the kings of the earth have not been told about this one here that we know is the Messiah. And we know it's the Messiah because salvation is going to come directly through him, according to what we just read here. Right. This is his holy arm. He's going to be marked more than any man, but this holy arm is going to be laid bare for all of the world to see, but yet the world have not been actually told this.
Right.
That's heavy. They've been told about somebody else, but they ain't been told about this one here. Okay? It says, so shall he shall sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him. For that which had not been told them shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider. Revelation tells you, it says that all the tribes of the earth shall mourn because of him. That's deep. But see, 53rd chapter is going to get deep into the disfigurement, though. Isaiah 53 and verse 1.
Who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of Yahuwah revealed?
We already just read about the holy arm, the arm of Yah. We read about that. Reading that Yah shall have made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of earth shall see the salvation of our Elohim. So the holy arm represents salvation, and now he's asking the question, who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of Yah revealed? Verse 2.
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant.
And that he, what's that he? What is that he?
The branch. I mean, the Messiah, the arm of Yahuwah.
Right. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Huh? Right. No, right. Well, that's what I'm looking for. The arm of Yah. It's going to be revealed. To whom is the arm of Yah revealed? And then he made the arm of Yah not just be an arm, but it is a he.
Right.
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant. Go ahead.
And as a root out of a dry ground. He have no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. So
there is no beauty that we should desire him, and we already read that he's going to be marred more than any man.
Right.
Wow. So there ain't no beauty.
And the vow arraignment about the prophecy about
Zechariah. Right. Concerning Yeshua, the priest, he's going to have dirty clothes on or whatever. Absolutely. Hallelujah. See how you bring it all back, because it brings to the whole picture. Absolutely. See, when we talk about the volume of the books here, this is not what they teaching concerning the Messiah, but it's right here in the scriptures. Absolutely. Right. It says, ain't no beauty that we should desire him. Absolutely. Verse 3.
He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Elohim, and afflicted.
Right, for this entity to have went through all this stuff, his visage being marred more than any man, we looked at him and been like, the Father caused this to happen, not realizing why the Father caused this to happen. That was the key thing here. We dealt with it according to our own lack of understanding, okay? But go ahead.
But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and Yahuwah have laid on him the iniquity of us all. Wow,
so this one of whom salvation will come through, that goes by a title of being the arm of Yah, it's deep. The one who the scripture said that he shall sprinkle many nations, the kings shall shut their mouths at him. This is talking about the same entity, like you said earlier. This is that same branch that it was talking about. And we know that because in Micah, it talks about how he comes up out of Bethlehem, who's going forth, have been from of old, from everlasting. Then he talks about, but before we do that, he will have to give them up.
Right.
Until the time which she which travaileth, as the nation of Israel will be brought forth. Yeah. We had already read in Isaiah how he has to rule or reign come in his days in order for Israel to dwell safely. So it's collective. You can't just take a piece of it. It's the whole concept of the restoration of Israel tied in with the manifestation of the Messiah. First, him doing what he's doing now, and then later the deliverance of Israel. But before he could deliver Israel, he first got to be marred.
Right.
He first had to be rejected. He first had to do all of these things. He's talking about even being striped, being, chastised. It's a deep thing. And so verse 7.
He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth.
Right. He didn't open up his mouth to protest. He didn't open up his mouth to, but Satan really wanted him to do it, though. When you go into read what happened in the what we call the Gospels, Yahshua, the adversary was on him. He wanted him to get up out of this thing here, but prophetically he could not done it. He had to accomplish just what he had accomplished on the first coming, so that he can establish the everlasting covenant that existed before he came into the flesh. But go ahead.
He was taken from prison and from judgment. And who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken.
So he ended up dying, actually dying, being cut off out of the land of the living. How can somebody that is prophesied to rule and reign gonna die? You see that? And again, 2,000 some years ago, a lot of us didn't understand that, even though it was written before they came into existence.
Right.
You know, when the angel spoke to Miriam, even he didn't tell her this. He said, he shall be great and should be called the Son of the Most High. And he shall be given the throne of his father David, and he shall reign over the house of Yaakov forever, ever, and of his kingdom there should be no end. See, he was careful not to tell her, but he's going to first have to die for the people first. You see that? So a lot of people didn't understand that, but the scripture had already prophesied concerning it. You see, but if you go in the New Testament and you read all that stuff, you really don't really fully understand it, because you got to go into the prophecies to read that this was going to happen. But Yahshua, he knew that all this was going to happen to him. See? So he didn't even concern himself with the latter part so much as because he knew that he had a job to do. And unless he fulfilled that first part, then forget about the second part. He can't even really focus too much on the second part, which was him reigning on, sitting on the you know, because the disciples would come to him. Hey, when you come back, you know, who's going to be this or who's going to be that? That's what they would come to him with. But he would be coming to them like, hey, look, this is what y'all need to do right now, okay? Y'all need to be, you know, preaching that the kingdom of YAH is at hand, preaching everlasting righteousness, preaching this, that, and the other. That's what y'all need to concern yourselves right now. Let's attain to the first part of this yet, because y'all, whether y'all know it or not, I'm about to do some heavy stuff in just a few days here. But they was caught up in this part of it, in the good part of it, but not in the bad part about it. The time where Micah prophesied that he's gonna have to give them up until the time appointed. This is how he gives them up, because he himself gets cut off and die for the sins of the people. Go ahead. Let's see. You was at 9.
And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was there any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased Yahuwah to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahuwah shall prosper in his hand.
Absolutely. So is he letting them know that, hey, the Father's going to make his soul an offering for sin. This ain't talking about an animal or a lamb or a goat, even though he's called a lamb. It's talking about the entity that the Father would bring forth on this earth, called the arm of YAH, and he's going to do all these things prophetically. Okay? Verse 11.
He shall see the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquity.
That's the beauty of the Most High, because no matter how righteous and good we try to be, man, we come up short. And through this entity right here, the one that he's going to be bringing here to put all of our transgressions and iniquities on him, because in the kingdom of YAH there is no transgression and iniquity. See, some of us think we're so righteous now that we can attain to that. No, first you have to first get all that stuff up off you. 12, verse 12.
Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the
And
transgression.
see, that 12th verse sums it up. He said, I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong. Because when he come back, he's going to come back ruling and devouring and conquering. Because why? Because he had poured out his soul unto death. See, he did something that made him worthy of the prophecies that he's going to come. Just like those that attain unto righteousness, we are working out our salvation in fear and trembling. You know, the same one that we done read about prophetically, it wasn't going to be no easy thing for him either. That's a heavy thing when you think about it. So just imagine some 2,000-something years ago, they would wait for this deliverer to come through, not recognizing that before he could even be a deliverer, he also had to prove himself.
Right.
Even though he existed before he came into the flesh. It's a real heavy thing. This entity existed before he came into the flesh, but when he came into the flesh, he had to do some things according to the flesh that would make him worthy to be this. Like in another place where it says who was worthy to open up the book in Revelation, it said that who was made, that's how he was made worthy. It wasn't just something he just inherited just for no reason.
Right.
He had to put in work.
Prove it, yeah.
He had to, it's a heavy thing. It is a real heavy thing but the volume of the books lay it out completely. Lay it out completely, okay? Psalms 110. Psalm 110. Yeah. Psalm 110, start us off at verse 1.
Yahuwah said unto my master, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool.
So now we're reading the words of Dawid here, king. He said, Yahuwah said unto my master, sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool. Okay? So he's telling, this is not David sitting on the right hand. This is talking about the one that we've been reading about, whose going forth have been from old, from everlasting. He said, Yahuwah said unto my master, that master is the root of David, the root and the offspring of David. It's the one that we have been reading about all along. He said, sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool. Verse 2.
Yahuwah shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. In the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning, thou hast the dew of thy youth. Yahuwah hath sworn and will not repent. Thou wilt a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. The master at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. He shall drink of the brook in the way, therefore shall he lift up the head.
So it's like this Messiah, this one that David is prophesying about, is actually going to come out of David, but actually existed before David. He's going to come and he's going to make war and rule over the inhabitants of the earth. Okay? That's what prophetically he's going to do. He don't say he's going to come and take people to heaven. I ain't read that nowhere in the volume of the books here. Okay, he's gonna come and strike through kings in the day of his wrath that it's talking about here. All right, Psalms, the 2nd chapter. Psalm, the 2nd chapter. Start this off at verse 1.
Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahuwah and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The master shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sorest pleasure.
Right. See, the kings of the earth are the ones who have promulgated all these false religions that's on this earth right now.
Right.
They're the one that have created an interpretation of the Messiah. But the real one, they like, oh, let's do away with this one right here.
Right. Exactly.
That's what it's talking about here. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He said that he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The master shall have them in laughter, in derision, as they fill the whole earth with this foolishness. He said he's going to laugh at all of that. Okay? He said, yea, have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. So that's where the king is going to reign at.
Right.
Sitting on the throne of David, right here on this earth. Go ahead, verse 7.
I will declare the decree. Yahuwah hath said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve Yahuwah with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him.
Ain't that deep? And who is David speaking about here? He said in verse 12, kiss the Son, not the Father, but the Son, lest he be angry, the Son, and ye perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. And earlier talk about his wrath above that in verse 5. He said, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath. That's tripped out. It's talking about the same entity, okay? It said, blessed are all they that put their trust in him. In the Son?
Right.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah.
Man, praise Yah. But anyway, yeah, that's the lesson on Yahshua, the prophesied Messiah. And if you could imagine, if we'd have went into the New Testament and read all the things that goes with
hand in hand with
hand in hand, we'd have been here for another 3 hours. clearly. But so basically, understanding what the scriptures say concerning the prophesied Messiah, how he come up out of the throne of David, out of the loins of David, how he's gonna cause this Messiah to come and be an offering for sins for the people, how the world will be able to look on him, how he's gonna be suffering so bad that his visage is gonna be marred more than any man on the earth. This is the prophesied Messiah, and after all that, he will in turn call the people to be given up for a time appointed until he will be able to bring them back in power and honor through the Spirit of YAH. So that is who the Messiah is according to the Old Testament, what we call the Old Testament, and that's it. So I hope you all was edified through the reading of this word. May YAH add a blessing. In Yahshua's name, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.